Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and welcome to One Ep is Life. It's your hosts, Peter Rosenberg and Rob Haze, the two hosts of
Hey,
One Ep.
shout out to Cipha. I was just in Norway with Cipha.
Oh, you were in Norway with Cipha Sounds?
Yeah, no, it was nuts. It was nuts. He was on stage with Mobb Deep. It was crazy.
Oh, you were there for that.
Yeah.
Cipha's really making this a thing of his, by the way. The like bum rushing the stage and just being out there with old school rappers. That's like feels like a brand that he may lean into.
I mean, in a foreign country, it's a friendly face. So I think he's embraced. He's got way more juice out there
Wait,
than he might have
if
at
it
a
was in
Rock
New
the
York.
Bell show in New York. Yeah. There might be a few more people he got to get through to get on
That's
that
exactly
stage in
right.
New York.
He said the exact same thing, by the way. He's like that you end up getting like a super level of recognition when you're out of town, particularly like, in Norway. But thank you for jumping on. We attempted to do a one app with Cipha Sounds today. If anybody wants to know what it's like to work with Cipha, I would say that the last 3 weeks, Rob, and Rob, we're going to talk to Rob. If you guys don't remember Rob Hayes, of course you do. Great guest on the show, filled in before, great comedian, great writer. So we're going to get into some things that are going on in the world. But here's the last few weeks with Seif. Billy, tell me if I leave anything out. Oh yes, everybody. Billy Jr. is actually here, which is great. He has to be here because I think he's invoiced me and Seif like twice in the last 3 days. So
I
he
also
has to
no,
show
I
up.
did not. Also, I tried to get the episodes recorded while you were away, which is what you're going to talk about.
Correct. So a few weeks ago, it starts out with I'm going on paternity leave. I'm gonna be gone for a couple weeks. Billy tries to engage Seif about like what could be done while I'm gone. And I'd say within 15 seconds, Seif was like, nah, we'll just take off. Um, like didn't even consider a possibility where he could just do shows, whatever it may be. Then though, like a week later, he hits up Billy and is like, yo, there's some good stuff to talk about. We should record right now. I'm just watching this conversation while I'm in France with my wife and daughter. And it went on for a good like 3 hours of back and forth before Seif then pulled the plug on his own thing. What happened that time, Billy? Billy?
His daughter was having a meltdown at camp, and he had to go deal with it. And
Oh yeah, there was a
he said he'd hit me in an hour. He never did, and then I hit him at 11. Like, hey, good, hey, you good? And he went,
oh yeah, and it
meltdown.
was a thing. There was a camp situation. He was out, and then now, yesterday, Billy brought up, can we get together this week? I'm still on paternity leave, and today's my birthday. I'm just chilling with
Happy
the fam.
birthday.
Oh, thanks, Rob. I always knew I'd be spending my birthday with you. I woke up today, I was like, you know what? It feels like a Rob Hayes kind of day today. It feels like a Rob Hayes
hmm
birthday. And then, yeah, he was going to do the show for a minute. He said that he had sound check at 10 a.m. Eastern time because he's in Europe. So if we could do 9 a.m., he was down. Well, guess what, guys? I'm jet lagged. I got up at like 6:30 a.m., texted the group, I'm wide awake. You want to do a show? Sife's like, oh, they moved sound check. It's earlier. Can't do it. Out again. So there were multiple opportunities to have Cipha Sounds on his own podcast this week, but none of them worked out. But guess what? We're all the better for it because Rob is here, fresh off of writing the ESPYs, the
Yeah, I run
somewhat
on the
the
ESPYs.
somewhat controversial ESPYs. Dare I say, Rob Hayes?
Some people love it. Some people don't. I think the usual channels, the usual people who might love a ESPYs monologue didn't love it, but then the people who were saying this is trash, comedy's dead, they were a little happy with it. So yeah, it's
But by the
divisive as
by the
always.
way, and by the way, you almost laying it out that way, it almost proves the point I was trying to make on social media about my issues with Shane Gillis's monologue. Like, because to your point, and maybe I'm not saying it literally proves the point because it doesn't, but it is interesting that like these moments with some of these comedians, and some people got annoyed that I kind of put him in a category with like other people. And in all fairness, the other people I mentioned, I consider Shane Gillis to be much more talented and better than.
Right.
To be clear, that's a fair. So the people who like responded, because I basically like I talked about the monologue, but then I also talked about it in context of like Tony Hinchcliffe and Andrew Schultz and um, I don't remember if I said anyone else, but and people were like, "Hey, that's not Shane Gillis." That's a fair thing to say. However, my point, Rob, that like if you're leaning into the quote controversial sort of you can't say it stuff so much that the people who react the biggest are like Outkick and Fox News, does that kind of prove my point a little bit or no?
I mean, it's tough because so many comedians lay on the side of like being the warriors of free speech. Who some of them are real silent about Colbert right now. So there's that. But I do feel like um, there had been a serious softness and a protection of celebrities and different people when it came to monologues, especially on that show. And I thought what we were able to do was unique. It wasn't necessarily all the way steered in ways to my liking and everybody's liking involved, but some of that is on some of that is on Shane and what Shane wanted to say and what Shane wanted to get across. But at the same time, it was fun to just do some hard jokes. It was fun to just have some big pops and some moments that translated on the screen.
See, that's where this gets to be so interesting. And like, bro, when I put up my post, and if you guys are listening and you haven't heard it, just go up on my Instagram. You'll see it's the thing with mad comments and not that many likes. Um, it got so commented on, and I thought it was one of those moments where I went back, and when I was on vacation, I posted a good amount of time because I don't have any radio shows to do shit, but shit's still happening. And we're sitting there, in France, and a lot of nights, we're not doing anything. Like we have a baby, we didn't go out, so like at night we're at the hotel, and I'm on my phone looking at stuff. And I went and I saw I watched the whole thing. I thought there were a couple of funny parts. And then I thought, like I often do these days, that there were a bunch of jokes that some of which were funny, some of which weren't funny. But I thought the desired goal was, wow, can you believe I said that? More than it was, that's a killer joke, right? Um, best example, maybe the best example. Carl Anthony Towns, hey girl. Um, I don't know. I guess it's sort of funny in that like you said the thing out loud
Yeah.
that like is said about him, but like we cannot talk in a world with a man who makes jokes for a living and say that the best joke humanly possible in that moment was just literally like, let's just be homophobic. Let's just call you a girl. Or be like,
I mean, big. We call him Big Cat. We call him Big Purr. And we know he's with Jordan Woods. We know that ain't. Like that's the joke. I understand. You work in New York. The Knicks fans didn't like that. This is how I knew the monologue was good because the Knicks pages was like. I mean, some of the jokes was funny, but come on, I'm tired of the Big Cat. I'm tired of
but
that
don't you think
narrative.
but couldn't there have been just a next level of funny to go to there? Like where he could have worked his way up to it, being like bringing up the things that are said. Like I feel like there was maybe like no, the simplicity of it was better. And to me, it was childish. It was just being like, I'm just going to blatantly point out the most obvious thing and let people kind of laugh at it. And it just does. I'm sorry, it's that's a low bar. That's a low bar,
I
bro.
I feel you. I mean, as writers, we're just throwing jokes in a bucket. we're just throwing jokes in a pile, and he's picking what he wants. I mean, for that, it's also like he's more of a storyteller. So when you got a quick one like that, that kind of helps with like pacing and stuff. So like the
True.
big build up is like, okay, he wants to get into Trump impression, he wants to do this, he wants to do that. So having that quick jab, it gotta pop in the room, it gotta pop to, the Pacers fans probably loved it, but
Okay, but hold on. I'm getting thrown off the subject. So, like, the point is, my point was not that he's not funny. My point was not that he's not good. My point was that I come away from it being like there is an air to it that I also just don't love, that I think is sort of shock for shock's sake. And people like just can't read. Like people just don't want to pay attention. All the comments went so crazy with like, I think he's not funny. You're hating. You're so woke. I'm like, bro, I like Shane Gillis. I think he's pretty funny, but that doesn't mean he's above fucking reproach. Like, I'm sorry, Carlin did not walk out on the stage that night. Pryor did not walk out on the stage that night. And even if they did, Rob, they still wouldn't be above reproach. Everybody is allowed. Like you can't play the game where we need comedians to be able to say whatever they want to say, but then everyone cries if you sit back and critique. Like, can we critique the things that these guys
oh
do also?
yeah. I'm not anti-critique, and I think that that's important. That's needed. With comedy, critique is one thing. Cancellation is something else, and I think people have misconstrued those two things. That being said, I feel like lumping him in with Hinchcliffe and the Schultz that go kind of more in an extreme direction doesn't do your argument a service. And I'll also counter with, we love rap, we love bars. Sometimes bars go kind of far. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes bars, like there's a whole conversation now about Drake and Kendrick, and where that went, and
And by the way,
and a lot of.
left to break that down, I would err the same way. As much as I love Kendrick, I would probably err on. I don't love that the whole thing became about the phrase pedophile. I don't know that I think that's like, but I
Right.
could still say that. But I can still say that he waxed Drake. You know what I'm saying? Like
For
those
sure.
things. There's just room for a little bit of nuance in it. You're right, though. I did not do myself a service by including the other guy. Like Andrew, and I don't want to like get you in shit because you're a comedian, you have your own relationships. This is me talking. Who? Me. Andrew Schultz, when it comes to pure chops, is not sitting at the same table as Shane Gillis. Like they're not. Let me be clear about that. Like one guy is a podcaster who twiddles his mustache and tells jokes, and the other guy is a real true blue comic who, whether he's my favorite or not, he's of the cloth like that. So I do agree. I probably didn't do it any service by framing it that way. But I do think it's a really complicated thing to point out because, like, Gillis is still benefiting off the fact that these racist white people get really hyped off of hearing people make some jokes about black people. They love seeing a white guy make jokes about black people. And there are people benefiting from that. They are aware that it gets an audience excited and they are choosing to do it. I'm not saying that makes you immoral. I'm not saying that's not my place to judge. But Rob, do you agree that there are people who are aware that it will win with that audience and choose to do it?
I mean, awareness, I think is, I don't know if I'd put it like that, because I don't know if they care as much, and that lack of care is probably a thing or a discussion. That being
Mm.
said, it's the ESPYs. If you only talking about white athletes, you got a long day in front of you. You gotta it's gonna be a
How
hard
much
job to just be
how much
like,
Caitlin Clark can you do?
yeah,
But also,
yeah.
didn't he acknowledge that he was kind of purposely bombing at certain points, and because he was like trying to be like Norm Macdonald when he hosted the ESPYs, it was like a tribute, some of it too.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Norm Macdonald was our was our North Star, and I feel like, if we had anything on the bulletin board, it was Norm's monologue, and there's been plenty of years where ESPN has shown us Norm's monologue and be like, this is what you don't do, this is what we don't want to see. So the fact that we were able to like ruffle those feathers without cursing, without getting bleeped on ABC, I thought was kind of ill. I do think that uh it should be subject for criticism and whatnot. But I also think it's dope. We got to get some jokes off.
Can I also say something? I don't know if this has been talked about much. It's whenever we talk about the quote canceling of people, it's always the same way. It's always people who are seen as going. And by the way, I'm removing people like Louis C.K. because people then get confused. Like if you get in trouble for a straight up sex act, like so that's a whole different
Right,
conversation.
right.
So when you talk about being quote canceled for the things that you say, obviously, Shane Gillis is a really interesting one because he lost his SNL opportunity because of something he said on a podcast. So he's one of the very rare examples of you could argue he was, quote, canceled. Though really it wasn't canceled. He lost a corporate job. And corporate jobs, you can lose when you mess around and say the wrong thing. I understand that. It's a tightrope I walk every day of my life. So I still think that's a bit different, but I get it. But it's always, the conversation is always, did these sort of conservative leaning people get canceled because they attacked the woke left? That's a quote, woke left. That's the angle of cancellation. No one talks about that the edgiest monologue and hosting in history was done by Ricky Gervais, and he ended up losing the gig for a few years before eventually sort of resurfacing. No one talks about it because it wasn't based on him being a white man making jokes about gay people or people of color. It was about him going super hardcore at like inappropriate, taboo Hollywood issues. But it doesn't seem like
Yeah,
he ever gets brought up in the conversation because he doesn't really fit the mold of what people want to get defensive about, which is usually the ability to joke about minority groups. That's what they get hyped about. They don't get hyped about someone who's actually a brilliant comedian, truly pushing the boundaries of what you could say in a Hollywood room.
but okay, if we were gonna be meticulous about Shane's monologue, if you go in some of them Ricky Gervais monologues, you'll see some low hanging fruit. You'll see some Tom Cruise's gay jokes. You'll see some of the things that are like like that we were just talking about. So I feel you about Ricky Gervais.
That's a fair
I
point, by the
mean,
way, also.
I think he also gets to play the fish out of water in a way that like he's not really his friends aren't in Hollywood. He's not in Hollywood. He exists in the Hollywood system, but also he can go back to Great Britain and he don't got to deal with, oh, I'm gonna be face to face. I'm gonna be courtside at the Knicks game. I gotta deal with Big Cat. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. But yeah, no, I feel like a lot of these edge lords and a lot of these people created this landscape and the Joe Rogan followers and the Austin scene that a lot of the followers and people feel like this is what comedy is now. This is what we got to do now, and that's not my school of comedy at all. Like that's not I'm not about shock value. I'm about we could make a joke about anything. Let's make anything funny.
I, I guess
Um,
I guess that's the thing for me too. I really do. I do love edge, by the way. Like, by the way, I love the phrase edge lords, but I really do. And I know you got to go in a few minutes. I I really do love being edgy. I just don't love being edgy for edginess's sake. And
sure.
I'm not saying that's just what Shane Gillis is, because it's not. But I guess I'm trying to think if, like, during his ESPYs, for as many and funny jokes as there were about like Caitlin Clark in the Waffle House, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Was there an equivalent of Edge sort of the other way. Like, even when he went to the Trump story, he does a great job talking about Trump in a way that's like funny, but a Trump fan can still laugh at it and never really think that his savior is getting attacked. He does do that masterfully. Maybe it's an accident. I just feel
Sure.
like he does a brilliant job being like, I can make lefties laugh at Trump, but it's never going to make the Trumpers go crazy.
What about his
Yeah.
joke about his writing partner's wife as a WNBA player? That kind of hits both sides. Did you see that clip?
Yeah. I had mixed feelings about that one. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't. There is a part of me that does just want to be the sensitive snowflake that I am. Like, I did understand the sentiment of people who were like, really, you just got to make jokes about the WNBA being not recognizable people. Like, yes, I can see why it's funny. But there is the honest, I'm just being real about myself. There is the honest, progressive person that I am that on that night and that platform, after the year the WNBA has had, I did feel a little bit bad about a joke that really resonated with y'all don't even know who these people are. There was a mean edge to that. Like, and that's fine. And that's
Right.
fine, but I just made me feel a little bad, honestly.
I mean, no, and I feel like there was in the writers' room, it wasn't like that was just a unanimous, favorite. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, that I mean, that's what they want to do. That's what they did. I think it's a funny device. I do. There were safer routes. There were other routes and other sports that are currently not recognizable. I mean, I think what's interesting is on the same network, the WNBA All Star Game was a couple days later, and I mean, it was stars on full display. Outside,
Right.
Caitlyn didn't play. So yeah, there's that. I would have wrote better jokes, but the Clips dropped that album on Friday before the show, so that's really
Now,
really
so
gonna hurt the production.
before I let you get up out of here, let me just move to that for a second. I saw a thing yesterday. I saw a clip moving around of someone who I really respect, Bomani Jones, talking about the Clips album with Mero, who I also respect, of course. And they were kind of talking about it as if it's gotten too much credit. And I was kind of like, no, I do not see it that way. Like, I think the Clips, I understand how you could get caught up in the level of internet hype that existed. And I am the first
Yeah,
person to hate on something because the internet hype is too big. Everyone listening knows that. I will hate on something for no good reason at all.
right.
I, Bro, I think it's the Clips' best body of work, bro. I think it might be better than Lord Willin'. I mean, at least in terms of content, it's at a different level, I think, than Lord Willin', certainly.
For sure,
Um,
for sure.
I think
you
I
think
think
you think
Rob's expression said everything. The first,
Hey, I mean,
Well,
it's
that's
it's
a
it's
lofty thing to
right
say.
here. Like yeah, it's on the desk. Like
So you're fully. Where do you think it's being overhyped, or you think it's highest level?
I don't think it's being overhyped. I think that so many people put out stuff and then they don't care. They don't care to do a long press run and really. I mean, like they put a month of actual work of actually sitting there through Fat Joe rants, actually traveling, actually doing a tiny desk. You know what I'm saying? Like they doing the genius. Like no, however you consume your hip hop media, they were there. They were at every platform, and so we were all able to talk about it in this moment. And I don't know if they've ever had a runway like this. I read the distance between Grinding and Lord Willin'. Like by the time Lord Willin' came out, it felt like, well, Grinding's not on the radio anymore. Just the people checking for it or checking for it. Same thing with Hell Have No Fury. The distance between Mr. Me Too and the album coming out, it just felt like they never had a runway like this. I'm a Hell Have No Fury guy, but from a content perspective and like them subject matter wise, it's just like, yeah, this is special. I think Bomani might just be a game player. He just might have a game of just, I'm gonna, when everybody zigs, I'm gonna zag, and I'm gonna try to zag first, especially when it comes to music. Because, with sports,
He's a zag guy. He's a zag guy with the music.
yeah. Because with sports, you can only zag numbers, and facts only let you zag so much because music's interpretive. I've noticed these Bomani takes kind of take a turn. Unless he's talking about No Limit. If you're talking about No Limit Records, then I might align with him. But outside of that, he's a real zagger. Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable with you adding the ER.
Zaga, Zaga.
Yeah. No hard R on Zagger. You can't do that. Yeah, I think this thing is. I think it's been a
My best
incredible
friend's
and
Max.
yeah. So exactly. But now I think it's worth every bit of praise that it's gotten. Last
Yeah.
topic, baby. I have one more thing to ask Rob Hayes. Natalie, come get this white baby. Do you know that, Rob? Do you know the white baby story?
No.
That Cipha was on a flight with Lil C's, and I don't know if you know this, but Cipha used to DJ for Lil Kim, and at one point a baby was crying, and Lil C's yelled out, "Yo, somebody shut this white baby up!" And so we often refer to Maya as a white baby, even though you're half Sephardic, little baby. That's not a full. I don't want anyone to think she's an all Ashkenazi Jew. All right, but last thing. I've been gone. I've obviously been paying attention to the Colbert situation. I'm not full blown into. I don't even know. Obviously, I know the logic of he badmouths Trump. He's losing his show. I don't know if there's another camp to this or not. Are there competing theories? Do most people tend to lean on to, oh, it's definitely because of Trump? I don't know. I don't know that I think it's that. In a weird way, I really think it could just be CBS doing what a lot of networks want to do and just not spending money on things that don't make them money. And the Trump thing ends up almost becoming a convenient thing that gives them like a certain level of controversy and intrigue when really they're just like, actually, it's even worse than to me, it's worse maybe than bowing down to the president who scares you because he keeps making Paramount come off of millions of dollars. It may be even worse. They just don't give a fuck about late night. This thing that's such a part of American culture and comedy and something that's so important. They're basically, I think, just putting a fork in it because they don't want to pay for it anymore, which to me could be even worse. I don't know. But curious for your thoughts on it. And is there any sort of thinking on it that I'm just missing not being in that world?
I mean, I think it's as cut and dry as it looks. I think that the 60 Minutes lawsuit, you talk about an institution. I mean, 60 Minutes might be the longest running program on TV. And them being sued for just reporting on some of the stuff this administration is doing, settling, which means that Paramount didn't want to play lawyer games, and then Colbert just calls them out, and then immediately they say they're ending the Late Show franchise. But them saying that makes me feel like, all right, they're not going to try to replace them. They're not doing late night. They're gonna, either give that up to the affiliates and let somebody, pick that up on Arsenio style, or they're just gonna like put some kind of alternate program in there, but it's not gonna be a late night show. And so to me that's very sad. I know David Letterman's like, wait, I stopped getting checks? What wait a minute. What about Worldwide Pants, So I think it's messed up. It's wild that he's got until May of next year to do the show, and so I doubt it lasts that long because he's going hard as he should.
Well,
If you let me
that's
be a
probably
lame
going to,
duck that long.
yeah, that's probably going to be the most interesting thing is just how crazy does he go in the time that he has the opportunity to do it. I'd love
It
to
gave me
think
like
about.
vibe. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Billy. No, interrupting is what you do. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it gives me the vibes of like when Conan lost the Tonight Show and he just went crazy for a while. Like,
Well, yeah, but that one was so weird. That was like such an awkward stop and
no,
start.
but I'm saying like the first night
Right.
he did a Coldplay song. Like that's gonna cost them a lot of money. I meant in that way.
Right. Got
Like,
it.
how's he gonna
I
go
just
10 months?
it would be funny to think about if this were just a movie, if this were just a comedy. You know what I mean? And this was the setup of the movie. What would the protagonist do with this time? Like, what do you do when you kind of know you, as a show, you're terminally ill? Like, this is ending.
Right. Right.
What do you do now given the opportunity? Do you go, like Rob said, so balls to the wall to the point where they have to fire you? Or do you not do that? Like, do you think there's a more effective thing that we can do with this time? And maybe it's something that makes them look ridiculous for canceling the show. Maybe we end up going so crazy, the content is so good that we essentially put a gun to their head where they don't know what to do about it, and we still leave at the end. Like there's a lot of different ways you could try to play it out.
What do you think
But it
about the
is
other shows though?
fascinating.
Because it's affecting everybody. Like the Daily
It,
Show, it's now like they're talking about it and going crazy, but also it's the same company.
that's an interesting point. That's
Like
a
it could
really
affect
interesting
them
point.
too. And Trump said Fallon and Kimmel are next. Like it's affecting all of them.
I just saw South Park cut a deal like yesterday.
Wasn't that
For
Yeah, I'm
what?
not.
1.5 billion?
Yeah. So I don't know.
It's going to be interesting to see what plays out with it. I don't know. For some reason, it just seems like with all the different things that have been said and done about Trump, granted, Paramount's in a different spot because I don't know though. Disney had to pay out Trump $15 million because of the Stephanopoulos thing. And Jimmy Kimmel is still going absolutely crazy. Now, those are different companies with different budgets, and I just don't know if I believe it's as straightforward of like, nah, he went too far. They want him out. Like, but at the same time, with
Yeah.
Trump, you never know, I suppose.
I mean, I think some of the, Colbert's number one is exaggerated because Kimmel's
By
on
the way,
vacation.
that was respectfully. Obviously, I
Right.
love Colbert. Have you done Colbert
Love
before?
Colbert. I haven't done Colbert. Yeah.
But don't worry, me neither. But I love Stephen Colbert. But like when they all of a sudden started acting like he's been like running the game, I'm like, if he was number one, that was at a random time because Kimmel's had lots of
Right.
number one time over the last 10 years.
Pretty much since the noogie. Since Jimmy Fallon did one of these, Kimmel's kind of been on top. Yeah.
Man, Fallon he really hurt himself with that one, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I got to tell you, to be honest, this just comes back to my comedy taste. To me, it's so deserved that he ate shit for it. Because in the end, while I certainly don't see it as a sign that, Fallon likes Trump or anything like that, he just doesn't stand for much. And I'm a stand for something kind of guy, as you know, by the amount of dollars that I've thrown in the garbage by choosing to live the life that I live. I respect that Kimmel stands on business. Like that's who he is.
Yeah.
He's
Right.
blunt
Right.
about it. He picked a side and lives there. And like I guess I appreciate that. Rob, thank you for. I know you got to go do your podcast. Anything that you want to plug to our people, besides the
Oh
fact you'll probably be
yeah.
back on One Up next week when Cipha never comes back.
Shout out to the One F fans. They show love whenever they see me in the Discord and stuff. Rob and Mandel Finding Out is on the 85 South Network, so check that out. Also, the Inconsistent Podcast with Rob Haze, wherever you get your podcasts.
Rob, thank you, bro. We appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
He's going to leave me here with Billy June now. This is great. All right, we'll continue this on Patreon then. Later, everyone.